within the hospital.
Let me just
Thanks.
tee this up again, Madeline. Sorry, I just hit the record button because I know you asked me for that. So let me just ask again if you would introduce Vicki to us
Okay.
on the call.
Thank you. I met Vicki this morning on a power walk, and she thought I was a neighbor. Dr. Maroney, who actually was one of my first silvers 23.5 years ago to help me reach platinum. And she asked where my dog was, and I don't have a dog, but Rosemary does. So that struck up a conversation. And I learned that she lives 2 doors next to my ex-husband's first wife. So Lillian Rose was one of my power starts earlier this year. She joined again. And so we just started connecting, and I learned that her daughter-in-law is a nurse practitioner working in the cancer center that used to report to me. And my ex-husband was the hospice medical director for her in the Sun. And she moved here anyway to this retirement community because she's been babysitting their 2-year-old to be closer. She lived in a community about 20 miles away or whatever. 30. And she's a retired LPN, and she's kind of looking for something to do because she's just watching this little one. So we live very close to one another. And I said, would you have a picnic to go to today? Well, she did. And I said, well, if you get done with your picnic early, come over and I'll tour you through something called a wellness home. And at 9 o'clock tonight, if you could stay, would have an opportunity to meet other people from Canada. And I'm not sure if we have any other Americans here tonight, and to be able to meet you, Michael. And I did edify you as an A. So I've told her a little bit about you, but for the recording, we are to introduce our new guests to a power A call. And she understands I'm the B and I'm going to be quiet once you start, and that she's the new C. And and I don't know a whole lot about her, so I'm anxious to hear more when you interview her. So understands that ABC. So she had a tour of the house already. She has 1 insole under 1 foot. She has the skincare on 1/2 of her face. She's had every strength test from the water to the air, a rollout, range of motion, and now she's sitting on a seat cushion and excited. So I'm excited to introduce you to our most active North American, European, and global Royal Diamond consistently for 30 years out of the 33 years that Niken has been in the North America. Niken came to North America in 89. Michael started in 92. He opened Canada in 92, Mexico in 93, and here we are. Wow. And so Michael DiMuccio, please.
Thank you, Madeline. Wow, what a great introduction. Vicki, it's a pleasure to meet you, and thank you for taking time tonight to learn about us. This call, there's a lot of people on the call who have all had, to some degree, experience with Niken. Many of us are veterans on this call. We host this evening as an opportunity to just interact and get up to speed on what may be new and exciting going on in Niken. I use this opportunity as a platform to share thoughts and ideas that I learned over the years that relate to things like the law of attraction and how we make things happen in our life consciously rather than, unconsciously. We have a number of great leaders on the call here from Canada, mostly I see, right across Canada, from Quebec, I see in BC as well. And anyway, so this call is going to be dedicated to just really working with you on your understanding of this. I did make this call available to anyone who wishes to introduce someone to Niken. And I'm going to call on maybe some of you on the line tonight, maybe to share your story, if you could, in brief, like a quick 1 minute. Here's your chance to practice your 1 minute story. So I want everybody to get that going on in your head, because we do want to hear from all of you, because everyone has an experience to share. Vicki, did I understand an LP? What's an LP? Is that a nurse?
Licensed practical nurse. It's
okay.
It's just a 1-year program.
Entry level into nursing.
Right.
Okay. Well, my experience, Madeline is a pro. She's been up the food chain on that end of the world, and she's our resident master from that part of the galaxy. Her understanding of Niken is integrative because she knows the Western approach to health and well-being, and Nikan is the Eastern approach to health and well-being, which at this moment in time in the history of our world is something of a great fascination. When we understand health is a different subject than sick care, very different. My mentor used to tell me, if you want to study health, study the universe. In other words, study nature. And then you'll see what health looks like, because it's very functional and very prosperous when we don't interfere with it. It seems man's ego has no end to playing God and wanting to manipulate everything they possibly can and call it, an improvement. I haven't seen much in my 58 years on the planet, but I do know one thing. I do know that the Japanese are the healthiest nation on earth. I know they spend 1/3 per capita what we spend on in the area of health. I know they have the highest number of centenarians on the planet, meaning people who live over 100. And yet I hear absolutely no conversations in the Western Hemisphere about what the Japanese do to stay healthy. Mm-hmm. And that's, again, a demonstration of, what the healthcare system is really all about. It's a profit center for people, and it's not really about health. Health is a study that should never end, but should definitely start with an understanding of nature. And that's what Nikan's been doing since 1975, is bringing this awareness of health, not just from the technology point of view, but also the philosophical point of view, that health is a mindset, health is a disposition, health is a way of looking at things, and a balanced life is the absolute ultimate quest or goal for any human being to experience the best kind of life, the best quality of life. And we call that the 5 pillars of wellness, being a healthy body, stands to reason, a healthy mind, and the mind-body connection, a healthy family. When our relationships are breaking down, or when there are stresses in the family, that impacts everyone and everybody's ability to feel well. A healthy society, which is the extension of our family. And we can definitely see what happens when society goes south. It impacts everybody's ability to experience freedom and well-being and so forth. So it is a function of our well-being and our responsibility to contribute to a healthy society. And then finally, healthy finances, which obviously, is the one thing that really determines a lot of choices people have in their life as to what they gain access to because of their financial situation. So if we really want to help somebody create a healthy, high quality of life, we need to help them bring balance into those 5 areas. No one is more important than the other, because they they spill onto each other. So that's what Nikan's philosophy has been about. And it really is interesting, because once you start thinking in those terms, you start to see the world through that lens. You start to really experience a better quality of life, because you become a little bit more consistent with choices that lead you in that direction. And it might be just something as simple as what you choose to eat for dinner tonight. And those things actually start to impact your way of life. And it may start slow at first, but it really starts to ramp up. And everyone on this call has experienced that. We've all experienced our beginning, if you will, of the Nikan experience, the Nikan Wellness Home experience. And now many of us I've had children raised in that environment who are now joined me. In fact, they're hosting a call right now on another channel with their team, as they're starting a young generation of wellness people who are involved and engaged in the Nikan wellness experience. So, and I can tell you right now, probably the best gift I've given my family is the gift of this concept, because they've been able to internalize it. And for them, it's not a change of thought. It's not a change of mind. They were raised in this consciousness. This is how they think. They're very conscientious about those choices every day. Whereas this generation, most of us on this call, we had to learn it. We were indoctrinated into the Western way of thinking, which was, when it's broke, you fix it. Until then, you don't have to worry about it. And of course, now what we have, we have so many people who have followed that path and are now really pushing the system to the brink of collapse. And so we need to revisit this subject in a big way. So that's what we're doing here. What we are the face of the wellness movement. we're not necessarily health practitioners. I don't have a degree in medicine. In fact, my background's aerospace engineering. And so is my daughter, Sophia, and my daughter, Savannah, she's in philosophy, or not philosophy, psychology. And my niece, Elena, who's also with us, she's her background's business and health. But most of the people on this call, various backgrounds. We have Paul Gavios, who's a professor. There's just every walk of life represented, because there's something in common. We all have in common. We all have an interest and a desire to have a rich, improved quality of life. And, a short story here. My daughters came to me a year ago, fresh graduates, came to me a year ago and said, there's nothing out there that remotely represents the kind of life and lifestyle you live, Dad. They call me Papa. And we want to bring this to our generation, because they've seen there's nothing out there that can provide this kind of quality of life. So that's an amazing thing to hear from children who have had nothing but access to the best of everything, and they come back to the nest and say, this is the best place there is out there. So Vicki, what we want to do is maybe help you get a perspective. So far, I just want to hear from you, though. What are you feeling with all those technologies on you?
Well, I think I love being pampered. It's just so relaxing to me. It's I have a girlfriend that does massage. She does all kinds of different, she's got lots of education in all these different massage remedies, and she's really good. And when she helps me out with some ache or pain I'm having, it's really interesting. So when I met Madeline, I was like, oh, this sounds very interesting to me. So
she's had a rollout. She's had a rollout.
Oh my. Okay. So you went to heaven and back again.
I sure did.
So do you know anybody out there that might be suffering from some stress or some sleep issues, or would really?
Oh, I know lots of people. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's
My
no,
husband for one.
I'm sorry.
My husband for one.
Okay. Yeah.
I have another good friend that's got pretty serious sleep issues.
Well, this is how I started my business. What happened was we all kind of start with people we know, beginning maybe with ourselves. For me, I was introduced to a product to help me with my low back. And literally within minutes, I experienced relief of something that I had been suffering from for a year and a half as a result of a car injury, one of the Niken technologies. And similar to the one that you have under your foot, by the way, just an older version of it. And well, I took it home. I took some of the information home, and my dad, who was a big sufferer, he had problems with his sciatica for many years. I then tried the product on him without him knowing much about anything, just said, here, try it, put it on where it hurts. And in 2 nights of sleeping with this thing on his back, he had no more of the thing that he was dealing. He was limping. He was literally limping and squirming under the pressure and the pain that he was experiencing every day. And then all of a sudden, just like that, 2 nights, he was limp free, full range of motion, and telling everybody at work about it. And that's when I knew, wow, there's something here. And so I started, like everybody does, sharing this information with people I knew. Now, today I have a network that spans the globe, and, thousands of people who I haven't even met. Because that's the nature of how this spreads. Kind of like social media. Do you have a Facebook page or anything like that?
I got off my Facebook page.
Don't blame you.
I'm on mess. I was like, okay, I'm out of here.
Do you have any social media?
Messenger.
Messenger. Okay. Yeah.
He
Okay.
was already in Telegram. So
Yeah.
But you understand the concept. It's like, people who know people who know people who know people who know people, and pretty soon you're connected to all these people. And what connected you was some vein of commonality, something that brought you together, either through a personal connection, somebody who knows somebody, or in a lot of cases, these social media things build up because around a concept. Like if you're on Telegram, you might be connected to a particular agenda. And that's what brings thousands or hundreds of thousands of people together. So the idea here is we want to build a conscious community of people who are practicing wellness and sharing wellness through the Nikken ideal, the idea of balanced life. Yeah. And so our vision for the future is one where we have millions of people that have not yet heard about us living the quality of life that many of us have experienced through these technologies, through this philosophy, and through this community. Just the idea that you can actually connect with people who think like you think and who value and appreciate what you value and you appreciate. And if you can actually make money doing it as a consequence of doing the right thing, and this is the key, there's a lot of people make money and a lot of it not necessarily doing the right thing, even in the health industry.
Sure.
See a lot of that going on right now. But what if you could actually make, and I kind of look at it this way, if you can become very successful, very wealthy in the quote unquote healthcare industry, imagine how wealthy you could become in the preventive health industry, you know, bringing wellness to people. Well, I think that's a much better proposition, and one that doesn't require 10 years of schooling and, you know, 5 years of practice and so forth. So I don't have to stick something on my wall and say I'm an expert because I studied, you know, this disease and that disease. I'm an expert in what I do because I experienced this firsthand. I share it with people and I learn from their experience. And it's kind of like the way it used to be, old school, like
Sure.
old school, you know, these wives' tales and things like that. Grandma said, if you do this, you know, you'll feel better for that. Those
Right.
things were not ridiculous. Those things were just protocols that we learned as we got older. For some reason, we knew chicken soup was good. Well, maybe a scientist can explain that today, but you know what? Whether they can explain it or not, it doesn't change the way I feel when I drink chicken soup. It makes me feel better. I don't care what they say about it. It's just what it is. So that's kind of like the Nikken world. We know these products help. We can feel them. And then we share them and we see the results of that. And that is encouraging. And that's what's caused this movement since 1975, 40 plus years in the making, to keep going. No paid advertisements, no buying politicians, no double-blind studies paid for by big pharma, no book, no BS. It's all strictly people like us saying, hey, I don't know how this works, but I know it works. Try it. See if it works for you. And then that's how we've been going for all these years. So that says a lot. Many, many billions of dollars of business just by word of mouth on the merits of what these products are doing for people. So rather than me telling you all of that, how about we hear from a few people?
That'd be great.
Okay, well, who would like to be our first 1 minute story? Okay, Paul, jump on in.
Okay, so I'm a university professor, was introduced to Nikken by a student who then introduced me to actual consultants. And I had a back problem and a sleep problem. And I tried the insoles and the Kenko Flex or Mag Flex. I can't remember what we call it now, but anyway, it's a little 5x8 magnet that goes in your lower back in your pants. I felt a difference. Instead of it being an 8, it went down to a 6. So then I thought, okay, I'm gonna get everything Nikken has. I made it because I was also interested in creating more income for our family of 4 children. And one of the things was the sleep system, and that solved my back problem. And my sleep problem, because as a professor, you've always got stuff going on in your head. That was 20 years ago. And now I'm the same rank as Madeline. So my wife and I are platinums. And my wife and I are both totally blind, and we've raised 4 sighted children who are adults now. So this is a good company to join, and you're in great hands with Madeline.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Lynn, let's hear from you.
Sure. I am near Toronto, Canada. I was introduced to Nikan several years back because I suffered severely from one of those uncomfortable things with our head, where you have to have blinds on, the light bothers you and so on. But it was the magic of the water that made an incredible difference for me, not knowing. We traveled with kids to different places. I wouldn't drink water, so we don't stop for the stops unnecessary. I was dehydrated. Nikan water made a huge difference. But besides the magic of the water, when I learned what Humans Being More in this company did, was incredible experience for me, because our family was going through a difficult business situation where we were near bankruptcy because of our business. The Humans Being More brought an opportunity for me to see things differently, move forward. It brought life back to me just as much as the water did. 20 years later, things happened. You raise family and so on. I'm back with full intention because I know the value of the products, including the Humans Being More, because we miss that. It's a gift to anyone, doesn't matter where they are in their life. So that's where I'm coming from.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lynn. Who would like to go next?
I'll go.
Oh, Marianne.
Go ahead,
Yes.
Marianne.
Okay. I appreciated what the products did for Paul. Watching him suffer with his back was a little bit like going to purgatory without being dead first. It was terrible. And so I was very grateful when he felt better, but I didn't have any dramatic reactions to the Nikan products. I felt pretty good beforehand and I felt pretty good afterwards, except 5 years later, I went on a 72-hour bus trip with my kids, taking 4 kids on a Greyhound bus for 72 hours. And I got to the end of that trip and I fully expected to be just wiped out. And they were, but I had used Nikan products all the way and I was raring to go and really excited to be at the end of the trip. And I realized that 20 years ago, I'd taken a 14-hour bus trip that had wiped me out. So I hadn't noticed the change, but over 20 years, over 5 years, I was actually healthier than I had been 20 years earlier. It's kind of crazy, but that's the truth. But the thing that really got me excited about Nikan, because although I was grateful about it, and I would sort of share if the spirit moved me at any given point, but I realized that when everybody was getting scared at the beginning of this business in 2020, that I wasn't scared. And I realized that I wasn't scared because I knew I had power and control over my health. And so many people have been so frightened. They've been so cut off from friends and families. And if we can find a way to give people power over their own wellness, we will have given them a gift that goes beyond even relieving them of discomforts here and there. Having control over your wellness gives you control over your life, and I want that for everybody I know.
Awesome. Me too. Thank you for that. Anyone else would like to go next? Come on, don't be shy. You all have a story.
I'll go.
Mikhail.
Hi, Michael. In 1999, I had the grace of one of my aunts who lives in Toronto, Ontario, to send me to magnets, Nikan magnets, and I still have those. And I'm a massage therapist, so every time I would ache, I would use those. And then last summer, a friend of mine just brought Nikan back into my life, and it was circumstances, but there was magic in there. And it was, my aunt transferring me knowledge and and benefits and everything that can come out of, using Nikin, but also being able to connect with people through Nikin. And so I'm happy today to be able to transfer this knowledge and benefits to anybody else who crosses my path. And for me, it's pursuing the mission I had as a massage therapist, but now through Nikin. So it's joy, and it's joy rising, and it's marvelous. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Anyone else? Come on, don't be shy.
I'd like to hear from Leo. He's like,
I was just about to pull him out of the crowd. Come on, Leo. You're a resident superstar. Why don't you share your story?
Well, I'm no good in English, but I got to try. 24 years ago, I have a friend of mine. She had a result with the fibromyalgia. That's it. You said that, fibromyalgia. And she said, I have a good result. And she said, I have to ask Leo for, she won't just talk to me about just one magnet, But when I take the car to go to Montreal to show what's about Nikin, I don't know, is Nikin. She just say me is a Japanese technology. What do you pile? It's not a pile. Come see. Okay. And I just want to just talk to me about that magnet. But when his boyfriend is explained to me the 5 pillars of health and human being more training, you know what I mean? I see more than just only back there. I see more. And I said, well, it sounds good. And my first product I bought is the pencil, and I put it in my bag. Okay. And I drive back to my town. Hour and a half later, I said, my neighbor, where's that? I said, hey, Leo, you have something in your back. Somebody feed our goods. I said, oh, what is that? It's work. I called her back, and I began the adventure. And the first month, I got 22,000 points with nothing. Just see the vision. I know the good, like Mike, but.
so she didn't mind you taking the back flex.
Yeah. She just wanted to talk about for that. And the boyfriend, he said, don't bother with Leo, he's broke, no money, they have no time for that. She said, no, I have to talk to Leo. He big guy, I have 41 years old this time. He said yes, or he said no, but we have to talk to Leo first. After, who cares? And you see, I'm platinum and I work to be diamond this summer.
Fantastic. Thank you, Leo. So Leo is actually like Canada's #1 performer. He is absolutely a superstar. He's already qualified for our incredible incentive, Team Kaizen. Not even half of the year's finished. He's already done it. And that's a trip to Japan this year. So the qualifiers for Team Kaizen, which is an annual incentive, which, by the way, they have not yet announced, but they're about to announce an incentive for the Japan trip for July through December. So it's a different way of earning the trip. They want more people to be able to earn the trip. So stay tuned. We'll probably hear about it tomorrow on the kickoff call. So really excited about that. But just the Leo, how many Team Kaizen trips have you been on now? How many have you won?
5 in a row.
5 in a row. Okay. So if you have any, so Vicky, if you
had Michael and Leo and I were in Italy together. I showed her, I brought a painting back from the Amalfi Coast. Well, I didn't know that Leo didn't know English.
Oh,
He was only French at the time. So we were in Rome with the Pope Mobile going around and had to get back on the bus. And there were like 175,000 people there. Well, Leo needed to go to the bathroom and he had my Paisley umbrella. So as we're leaving, Michael says, how are we going to find Leo? I said, we'll be able to find him. Because, yes. So we've enjoyed a trip together, and we will be, well, they're not going because of the rules in Canada, right? I'll be in Maui, and but Michael and Leo won the trip also to Maui, but they're not going.
So, but we will be going to Japan because I'm pretty sure one or two things
Leo
will
has
happen
it
that'll
ready. Yes.
upset the apple cart for our people in power who won't be in power very long.
I might just in a few minutes, my goal for this year, I want to go to Japan alone. And many people on my team tonight, you want to go to Japan with me. And when stay tuned, guys, when they announce tomorrow night what's happening, you got to be excited about it. And I'm sure I want to go to Japan alone.
Yeah, that's for sure. You know, Vicky, that's a thing that, by the way, Madeline is a superstar in Nikken. You may not know that because she doesn't toot her own horn, but she is totally astute. Everybody knows Madeline in Nikken. So, and she's on all the trips because she wins them. And the only way to win these trips is to be active in the business and share this with people like she's doing with you tonight here. You know, most people are out partying on July 4th. And what's Madeline doing? She's talking Nikken. She's sharing Nikken. That's a gift. But yeah, Vicky, if you've ever had an idea of traveling the world and having that paid for, Nikken has the best incentives for that. The most amazing trips we've been on since I've been in Nikken, 30 years. My first trip I was only a few months old in Nikken. I won the trip to Japan. So that was my first time going to Japan. And talk about an impression. I was 28 years old. I was there. There must have been about 3,000 people representing Nikken from all over. And we were new in Canada. We just opened up in Canada. So there was only a handful of us. I think there was about 80 or 100 people from the United States and then thousands from everywhere else. And it was an incredible experience to witness what I believe was going to be our future, to be there to see what Nikken looked like in person from the perspective of people who were already engaged with Nikken for quite a while. In fact, it was so cool. I was wearing these earphones. We all had earphones with the little devices because it was like being at the United Nations. Everybody had their flags. And whenever anybody spoke, they didn't speak English. So we had to get the translation from Japanese or from Taiwanese or whatever language was being spoken. It was really cool. Anyways, does anyone else want to share their story before we?
I'd like to call on Linda Morris. She always has such.
Where's Linda? Oh, there she is. Hey, Linda.
We're American, at least one more American here tonight.
Linda, you there? Can you share your story? The auction free. There you are.
Do you want the Seattle Linda or the Florida Linda?
I want the Seattle Linda.
Okay, guys. Happy 4th, everybody. So here's we're doing this in a minute or less. Is that right?
Yes, please.
Okay. My quick story is I lived many years in California and I come to go look after my parents. And I was looking for a change to get out of corporate America. And somebody beautifully shared Nikken with me. And within 4 months, I'd gone to Humans Being More. I'd gone to my first quarterly event here locally in Washington State. And my first convention was in Anaheim. Actually it was in Long Beach, where I had lived for a year and a half. And in that time, I met so many people. I've just had a wonderful experience of helping my parents. I was here to look after them. They're both now in heaven. And I do believe they lived a long time because of Nikken. I can't prove it, but it doesn't matter. My dad passed at the age of 84, 8.5 years ago. My mom just passed last year, about 7 or 8 months ago at the age of 96.5. And we loved the products and we've shared it with a lot of our friends and neighbors and church friends and whatnot, military friends. My dad retired from the military. It's been a wonderful, I'll be 16 years in Nikken in August. And I'm very grateful. I know where my life would be if I hadn't learned about it. So I'm working on rebuilding for a business and it's the only way to go. And I love Nikken. Thank you, Mr. Masuda.
Thank you, Linda. And by the way, Vicky, Mr. Masuda is the founder of Nikken. He passed in 2020, but I had the honor and pleasure of meeting him on several occasions. He didn't speak English. We always spoke through a translator. But I can tell you, he was probably one of the most spiritually awakened human beings I've ever met. One of the most humble human beings I've ever met. Gordon, you have your hand up. Why don't you share your story?
Thank you, Mike. I just thought I'd say a few things here. I was blessed to meet Paul through Mary Ellen Gavius, and I just wanted to share by talking with Paul there. I've been using the products, and I started out with the grounding mat, and that helped me for my sleep because I had problems sleeping. And I've also been using the Kenko seat. And the biggest thing I noticed too was the waterfall, because I've introduced the waterfall there in March, and I've been really
Oh.
drinking a lot more water, which is really good.
Yeah.
And the same thing is, I got the sleep system at the end of March there too, which has been a really benefit for me. So that's one thing I like about Nikan is the products are good, and the ones I've been using have been benefiting me. So, and of course yourself, Mike, the upline, you and Bo, you guys are great to, great, great speakers and influence for everybody. And I just have to say you got a great team, and I just wanted to say thank you for everything. And I just thought I'd share that with you.
Well, thank you, Gordon. Very kind of you. Thank you. Well, I think we've been going about 40 minutes, so I'm probably going to wrap now. Vicky, before we do you have any questions?
I guess, people are like with my husband. You could suggest something and you just get negativity. That's not going to work. I don't want to do that. How do you all handle difficult attitudes?
That's a really great question. There's a difference between being a skeptic and being a pessimist. I find pessimists, that type of an attitude, very difficult to overcome in a direct approach. So the indirect approach tends to be more effective, meaning they overhear a conversation you're having, they overhear a call like this. Maybe you can watch this video and say, hey, I was just on this tonight. This was really interesting. And as you're playing it back, they get to eavesdrop on the conversation and start to try and take it apart. But at the end of the day, all they have is their opinion. They have no facts. And so I like to ask the question, on what facts do you base your opinion? And then I listen for the answer, which is rarely ever coming because they don't have any facts. And so they tend to follow, they don't tend to lead. But I'll tell you one thing, once they do flip, if they do flip, they become crusaders. It's like a smoker who quits smoking. You can't light up around them, boy, they'll crucify you. So it's the same thing with a Nikan person. Once they go from that skeptical to the flip side of that, they're very strong advocates. So is it worth the investment of time and energy? Only if there's somebody important to you. Otherwise, I don't spend much time. I find that there's a lot of people out there that don't need to be convinced. They just need to be informed. And so I see my role as an educator. I help them learn about this in their way and help them demonstrate. The demonstrations are pretty powerful. It's one thing to say, oh, I like the demonstration with the strength, the balance test, because a skeptic will usually say to me, how do I know you were pressing as hard? Right? The first time or the second time. And I like to say, well, maybe you're right. Maybe I wasn't. Then again, maybe I was. I don't know. How'd you feel? And put it back to them. Let them explain. Because I don't think there's a need for us to justify or defend. Somebody is being that way for a reason. And it's good understanding. When you've been raised in the world that we've been raised in, where right now it's pretty hard to be able to trust anybody with anything. You can't trust pretty much anybody with anything. Can't trust the media, can't trust the politicians, can't trust it's like we've been so bombarded that's the condition we've been put in, where it's very difficult for us to have blind trust. So I don't ask for blind trust. What I ask for them is an open mind and to do some investigating. I trust that they can come to their own conclusions. And that's all I say. Listen, I'm not here to convince you. I'm here to inform you. You can come to your own conclusions about it. When they feel that there's not a pitch, there's not a sale, there's not a sell going on here, where it's really a genuine interest in helping somebody learn about something, and then letting the products do some of the informing through those demos, that's when the guard comes down, and that's when the real conversation begins. So again, when do I invest that kind of energy? When it's somebody who's important to me. But it's really important, though, the best thing you could do in a situation like that, the very best thing you could do in a situation like that, is what we're doing right now. We call that the ABC. Your husband's not going to take you at face value because, well, what do you know about health? Yeah, what do you know about magnets? Yeah, what do you know about the Japanese? But he may listen to another person because he only has the information to go by. He doesn't know the person. He can't judge the person. He can only judge what they're saying. So if you've got somebody credible like Madeline expressing, informing him about the products, he's going to be a lot more polite to Madeline than he's probably going to be to you. He's going to be a lot more open to what Madeline's saying about this than he probably would be to you. So this is what we call the ABC. It's incredibly powerful, and it's how Nikken has grown its business, how we do business over the last 47 years. This call right here tonight, I'm going to call it Experience a Power ABC, because essentially what you got tonight is a power ABC. Normally an ABC might be one person, like me as the A, but tonight you had a bunch of people where you could hear different people, different personalities, different backgrounds, different experiences. So it's quite a powerful way to learn about Nikken through the eyes and ears of other people who've been involved. And so this is our method, if you will, for getting the word out and doing it in a way that's credible. Again, it's up to the individual, and we give everybody the right to say yes and the right to say no, just like everybody has the right to personal freedom and the right to lack of freedom. It's a choice. We just hope that the people that we care about get it sooner than later, because we don't like to see them suffer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you.
my pleasure. Well, folks, thanks for being on the call tonight, and we will release this recording. And thank you, everybody who shared your testimonial. Appreciate that as well. And again, happy Independence Day for the Americans. Those of you who just came out of Canada Day, happy Canada Day, and we'll see you again next week. Cheers, everybody.
And I want
Thank
to
you.
thank everybody tonight that helped as the Super A as well. Thank you very much.
All the best,
You're
Vicky.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you
Good
all.
luck, Vicky. Hope to meet you in Japan.
All right, cheers.
Okay.